All right, are we recording? Yes, we're recording. Okay. Hello and welcome to the people who are watching and not here live like Brian is. I'm Brother Stevic. I will be your host for the CIT 225 course load that you have so valiantly endeavored to take on. This is week 1, and this is kind of where I go through the nuts and bolts of the course with you. Unfortunately, due to a prior business commitment, I will not be available next week to do this video. And there's an important thing that I talk about in next week's video that I'm going to talk about tonight. So Brian will represent the class as if they were here, and hopefully have any questions that may come up. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the announcements. And every semester I talk about this the same way, and every semester the same thing happens. The announcements are the #1 way that I talk to you guys if you're not here. The second way is through these videos that I post every week from now until week 10 or week 11. And for example, I got a number of people contacting me this week about they couldn't access the book. Because if you go to the site, the book, and you try to put your email address in, it gets all wonky. And I asked them, had they read where is it? Here, should be here. Where is it? Where'd it go? I asked them, had they read the announcements? And they said no. So once I find out where that, in one of these announcements, which I could have sworn I put up here. Is this here? Nope. I'm gonna embarrass myself because I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Oh, it was right there the entire time. So here was how to fix the textbook. Had you read the announcement, you would have seen this, and you wouldn't have, had to come ask me. And I don't mind you asking me questions. I'm totally down with answering questions. I love answering questions, but this would have saved you a ton of time. So try, and this is kind of a preaching to the choir thing, because if you're not watching these videos, you're definitely not reading the announcements. So this is one of those things, but I just like to say this. Try to read the announcements. I have all the information in there that you need to know. All right, so I need to get this out of my way here. How do I make this go? Let's put you down here. Yes. All right. Okay. So every week you're gonna see the same thing show up. Hey, how you doing, Morris? Morris?
Yes.
How you doing? We haven't. I just got off my soapbox about read the announcements so you learn all the things that are supposed to be there. So, the fact that you're here means you read the announcements, so everything's good on that front. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I was in meeting with my another professor for my session 5. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. This is normally on Tuesday nights, but because of the storm that decided to hit on Tuesday this week in Florida, I pushed it off here because our power goes out and I don't want to risk being in the middle of something, and it's just easier to push back.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. So every week that happens, they're going to be the same things that happen in the announcements here in the module. The first one is the preparation and reading. Okay, so this is where you're going to see the first every week, and there's a quiz that goes with it. But here there's going to say, here's what we're going to learn this week. And here's the reading assignments that go with this week. Now you'll see these PowerPoint slides. They're very, very important. So the book that you're assigned in this class, Learning SQL, is a very, very good book. It is great as a research tool. It is great as a reference book. It is great to look up how to code you want. Go into the index, look up the thing, go to the page, find the thing, and read it. It is not what I would call a page turner. It's not something you want to, like, get a cup of hot cocoa and a fire going and sit down in your favorite chair and start perusing through, because you are not going to be happy. It is not a fun book to read. It is a fun book to reference. So I don't advocate anyone trying to read the book. Everything here is going to help you to find your way around the book without actually read it. So these PowerPoint slides, when you download them, look at them, they're going to tell you what's in the book that you need to know. It's going to give you the breakdown of the book and the chapters, give you the information that's in the book there, so you don't have to read the book. Please, I'm not saying the book's bad, just please keep that in mind. I'm saying that it's not fun to read because it's a technical book. Then you have all these links that go here. What is MySQL? How to install MySQL? How to use the MySQL command line interface? And then all this is getting started with MySQL. So all these links are important. You should look at them. You should take 5 minutes and peruse them, particularly the ones about how to install MySQL. And these ones down here, right? Because what's going to happen is every week there's a quiz. And the quiz, the answers will come from either the PowerPoint slides or they will come from the links here.
I
It
have
will
one
also,
question.
sure, go ahead.
In regards to the PowerPoint slides, are we also needing to get the book, or is that going to cover the topics?
Well, the book is free.
Right.
So go ahead and download the book. The book is great. So when we hit weeks 4, 5, and 6, and you're starting to write code, right? That book is going to become invaluable because
Okay.
you're going to go to the index and find the stuff you need, right? The
Okay.
book is also very important when it comes to the exercises we're going to get to in a second.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. So absolutely, no, ask questions, please. Ask questions. So so when we get to the point where we're in code, that book's gonna be valuable. You're gonna look up like what is a where clause, and you're gonna go into the book and you're gonna read all about the where clause rather than like try to push your way through the entire book. Also these videos are very important. Okay, so now in this course, you're supposed to set up MySQL, and it wants you to run all these commands here, right? If you run these and these don't work, as long as the Sakilla database is there, you're fine. Don't worry about if these commands don't work. Okay. So that's everything that's here on the reading. So the reading prep page has the PowerPoint slides you need to look through, has all the links you need to read through, tells you what chapter of the book we're in this week, and gives you an idea of what we're doing. And then there's a quiz down here, and it's going to ask you questions like, did you do the lesson? Did you do this, that other thing? Okay. The next thing you're going to see in every week is these exercises. Okay. The exercise is going to tell you only have one attempt to them, but you have as long as you want to do them. They're open book. And they're covering chapters 1 and 2. So you get all this information here, okay? Now, not week 1, but starting with week 2 on when you're writing code, I'm going to tell you something that you will find out eventually anyway, that the answers to the exercises are in the back of the book. Like when we were all in like, math class in 7th grade and the teacher said do the odd problems because the even answers were on the back, or they said do the even answers, check your work on the back. That's what these are. Because for me in this class, learning how to code happens a couple different ways. One is just writing the code and making it work. The other way is to reverse engineer code that you're looking at and figure out why it works. So when you're doing the exercises, give your best effort to try to write the code. If you cannot figure it out, or you want to check if you were right, go into the back of the book, find the answers there, and see what it is. And then, give your version of the code and the answers. Now, around week 7, they start adding things to the exercises that aren't in the back of the book and a little more challenging. But by that time, you guys should be on the wall and knowing the coding stuff. So that is the exercise. So this happens every week. There's exercise every week. Every week we also have a quiz. The quiz, you get 2 chances to do it. You get the highest score. You have 90 minutes to do it. The quizzes are open book. They are open notes. They are open internet. They are phone a friend. Because they have decided that it's just the purpose of this course is for you to learn how to code. The quiz is just making sure you're reading and looking into the book and checking the links. Whether you do it while you're taking the quiz or whether you do it prior to it, you're still getting that information into your head that way. Every week there is a quiz. It's auto-graded. You have 2 chances. Side note, moving forward, this course, the end of this course, there's 2 things you can do in this course. There's either a final exam or there's a final project. The final exam is a 100 question quiz, test, I think. All the questions come from all the previous quizzes. The final exam is 2 chances to take, open book, open notes, open friends, open whatever, open other quizzes. The other option you have, we're going to talk more about this in 2 weeks when we meet again, 2 weeks from Tuesday, is a final project. And in that final project, you will be asked to design a database from the scratch and all the tables and all the procedures, and it will be based on an application that you think needs to exist. For example, in the past, a lot of students have done a database that tracks food storage. They've done databases that track gardening. They've done databases that tracked classes and kids' schedules and things like that. We're going to discuss that in depth 2 weeks from last Tuesday. But so just looking forward, you've got 2 choices in the course: the final exam or the final project. Okay. Also, every week, you have a question, Brian?
I was just wondering what personal preference do you have on that?
I love the project. I think the project's a lot of fun. But then again, I love designing databases. It's and so starting in week 4 through like week 7 or 8, part of this Tuesday night class is me designing a database with you guys. I find there to be an artistic symmetry to the designing of databases, how the tables build out from each other, and how the data flows, and it's a lot of fun for you. I mean, a lot of people see there's like there are 3 types of people who end up in this class. They're the people who start this class on day 1, and by the end of the first week, they're like through the first 4 weeks of material, and they just burn through it because they just care about passing the class and they're not worried about learning, right? I've got 2 of those this semester. I've got the kind of people who just kind of track along, never pay attention to anything, and end up doing the final exam. And then we got the people who show up on Tuesdays and do the final exam. I think the people who do the final exam, the final project rather, get the more out of the class, because this class is database administration and design. If you don't do the final project, you don't get the design part, right?
Yeah.
And designing a database is a lot of fun. And the truth of the matter is, and here's the thing: we talk about the final project on week 3 because it takes about 7 to 10 weeks to do the project.
Okay.
Because you have to, it's all the process of figuring out what you want to do, designing the databases, designing the code to do everything. It's a whole thing. It's a whole process. So you can decide on week 3 that you're going to do the final project and go through the whole process. And then on week 13, go, wait a minute, I don't have the time to do this. I'm just going to do the final exam. That's absolutely, it's happened a lot of times, and it's nobody's fault because life happens. You know, maybe you get sick during this, or I've been doing this probably close to 8 years now, and I have not had a semester where someone hasn't got sick, and since 2001 hasn't gotten COVID. Someone hasn't lost a member of their family. Someone hasn't gotten a new member of their family. Someone hasn't had to fly out of town. I had one student one year who was in Nicaragua, literally telling me that he's on his computer under a table because it's not safe for him to have the lights on in his house.
Right.
And I'm like, sir, if you get to Orlando, you can stay with me. You know, so a lot of things happen. Best intentions are great. I like to see when students do the final project because I think they get more out of the experience of the class.
Now, the final project, that's not timed, is it?
Nope.
Like-
Final project is you have 10 weeks to do, and you submit a bunch of stuff to me.
Right.
You submit the database, a bunch of queries. We'll go through it, but there's 6 things you turn into me at the end of that. It's not a time thing. It's not like, okay, you've got 30 minutes to design a database, go.
But the final exam is timed, right?
Final exam is exact. I think it's 90 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. I can look. I can see what it is, but it's time. But again, the final exam is really, since it's a culmination of all the quizzes, it's not. I haven't seen it. No one's run out of time yet in 8 years doing this. But
Well, that's
and
nice to add some flexibility there.
yeah, oh yeah, and also there's another reason why you want to do the final project. We're gonna get to that in a second. Because there's one aspect of this class that people really don't like, and I don't blame them, but doing the final project gets you out of it. All right, so this is the quizzes. Now, last part, every week there is a paper required. And the paper required is something like this. Write a case study below, 3 to 5 paragraph report on the case study and submit it. And then you have this prompt here. This one particularly is tell you the difference between the IDE and the CLI and why the CLI is better. Now, the CLI isn't better. I don't like the CLI. The CLI is for showing off. I'm sorry. It just is. If you don't, for you don't, the IDE is the it's the workbench environment. It's the simple way to do things. Come on, there you are. All right, here it is. This is the IDE. Cancel. Okay, this is the IDE where I can write my code here and all these other great things, right? The CLI, I don't have it installed on my machine, but it looks like this.
Is that the command line?
Yeah, command line interface, right? So I'll tell you, when I first started being, I started being a DBA back in 2001 is when I first learned how to. I started on Microsoft SQL Server. I started on SQL 2000. You had the GUI interface and you had the code line. When I learned how to code, I did it in here. I didn't do it in the GUI in 2000. In 2005 and beyond, I would do it in the GUI. But I always kept my ability to do it in here because it looked way cooler. Plus, it made my job look super, super hard. So my first job as a full-time DBA, I would do everything through the command prompt. And about 20 minutes later, I realized how stupid that was, so I stopped. There isn't anything you can do here that you can't do here. There's no you can do some more granular stuff here, but it gets super complicated in this world. So if you feel the CLI is better and want to write the paper on that, knock yourself out. I'm not gonna ever, that's why there's Chinese restaurant. Everyone likes something different, right? But my deal is I prefer this. But anyway, so every week you've got to write a paper and it gives you a specific prompt and it says your first week in your new company, your manager wants to understand the difference between blah, 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 right? So you write the paper on that, 3 to 5 paper paragraphs. I grade it. It's great. Next week, there isn't a paper. We're going to talk about that in a second. From week 3 on, if you choose to do the final project, you ignore this prompt. If you're doing the final project, the weekly paper becomes a communication between you and me on how the project is going. So let's say you've decided to do it on week 3, and you've watched the video, you've understood everything that's going on, and your prayer to me is, Brother Stevic, I'm thinking about the project. I really like the idea of doing a database about my baseball card collection. This is the kind of what I'm thinking about. What are your thoughts on it? And then every week past that is like, okay, this week I started designing the tables. Here's what the ERD looks like. What do you think? Here's the first codes. So every week through the week 13 is just communication with me on how the project is going, which is way easier than these papers that they want you to write. So that's entirely up to y'all. But that's one of the benefits to doing the final project is this. And yes, I know you're thinking it. Has someone decided on week 3 to do the final project and then did the updates to me through the entire process, and on week 13 not do the final project and do the final exam? Yes, they did. I'm not mad at it. It's totally fine. In the case the person did it, they legitimately couldn't do it because I forget what the situation, but something had happened and they weren't able to do the final project, which is fine. But yeah, so there's a benefit to doing this paper as opposed to that. So that's what
Sorry, how large of a database are you expecting for the final exam?
So that's a good question. So for the final project, and I'll go into more details later, but I'll give you some real like a 10,000 foot view, right? So what you're on the final project, you're going to design, and here's the trick too. If you go and look at the requirements in week 3 and follow those requirements, it's a very different project. What I ask for is far simpler. I'm allowed to change a lot of things because I'm the course lead. I can't change the wording for the final project. So I do it my own way. So what I expect of you is to design a database that has at least 10 tables or up to 10 tables. And then that includes the index structure, columns, rows, data types, everything's there, and design those. you have to provide to me the code, the ERD, the entity relationship diagram of the database, the code to create the database, which there's a trick to do super fast so you don't actually have to write it. The code to input the data into the database, because I'm going to test it out when you give it to me, right? And there's a shortcut on how to do that fast, and I will show you that. You have to design something called test cases, which means a test case is a query that you write to pull the data out of the database in a way that a customer who is using your application would use it. So let's go back to the baseball card. I'm going to do a database about baseball card collections. And so one of the use case scenarios is I want to see every year I have a baseball card for Darryl Strawberry or Joe Mazzilli or Tom Lee or whatever like that. I want to see how many years a certain player was on a certain team. I want to see how many complete sets I have and things along those lines, right? So you say, this is how a customer would use the database, and here's the query they would use. You write that query, you turn that into me. So that's 4 things: ERD, code to create the database, code to insert the data, and code for the test cases. The 5th thing you turn into me is a mock-up of how a part of the front end of the application would connect to the back end of the database. Just so I know that you understand how a front end connects to a back end. And we'll go over that. I'll show you. It's actually really, really simple when you get right down to it. And the 6th thing you give me is either a 2 to 5 minute video presentation on your project or a PowerPoint presentation on your project that explains what it is to me. And those are the 6 things. So the size of the database, and I limit the tables to 10 on the size of the database, because in my experience, once you hit like 8 or 9 tables and go past that, you hit 20 really quick. And when I designed the first database with you guys, you'll see how that happens. You will go from like 7 tables to 15 tables before you know what's happening. When I used to teach a class like this in person, the classroom I taught in, I had all 4 walls made up as dry erase boards. And so I would start in this corner of the room, and then I would go all the way around to design the database. And by the time I was done, I was on the 4th wall drawing it there, because I would just logically follow how the data would go, right? And I draw really big too, so that helped. But yeah, that answer your question about how big the data should be?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so every week you're going to see a prep and reading with a quiz. You're going to see exercises with 4 to 6 questions. You're going to see a quiz with 4 to 6 questions, and you're going to see a paper. In everything except week 2. Now, week 2, normally I'd go over next week, but I'm going to go over this week. So there is this evil thing that came right from outer darkness called Proctorio. And it is a dark and evil thing, and Satan created it, and he did it to plague and plague college students. I don't like Proctorio. I actually believe that it is absolutely ransomware. So what they've allowed us to do, so the reason why we use Proctorio, and believe it or not, it's not to stop you from cheating on the quizzes, because you're going to do that without it. I mean, you're sitting at home taking a quiz. I mean, you could research, you get all the written and here, and no one's going to know if you're cheating, right? The purpose of Proctorio is to prove you are who you are, and you're taking a quiz, and you're not hiring like, Bob from down the street to take the quiz for you. That's the purpose of Proctorio. So what we need to allow this course to happen online to get our certification, we need some proof that a human being that matches the description of you is taking this course. So we get around that by week 2. And week 2, let me go here and go down to my week 2 stuff. And week 2, instead of having a paper, you have reverse engineering a website. Now, When you hear this, it sounds terrifying, but it's actually very easy. So all this is asking you for to do, because we're assuming at this point, since this is the level 2 course, that y'all might have some cursory knowledge of how databases exist and how they work. We don't expect you to be experts or know anything about anything, okay? So what we want you to do is to choose a website that uses a database and explain to me. You don't have to draw anything. You just have to talk to me. Make a video that is 5 to 10 minutes long. Please keep it to the 5-minute side because I get bored after the 5 minutes. Unless you're gonna do hand puppets or something in case, keep going, right? 5-minute video on how you think the database for the back end looks. So let me play this here. So, okay. So we all know that a database is comprised of tables, and each table holds information about a specific thing, right? So one of the key things about databases is that every table must have data unique to it that can't be found anywhere else. Okay, so if I'm doing a baseball card database, I will have a table for team. I will have a table for year. I have a table for player. I'll have tables for like statistics and all these other things, right? So let's walk through it. Normally I do this in week 2. Let's do this now. Let me go to my cool stuff games. Okay, lowest was I? All right, so yeah, I want to go to the real cool stuff, please. Thank you. And you go to Magic the Gathering. Oh, Lornica. And well, it's Lornica. Okay, and I'll go here to Rise of the Firstborn. So this is a website that uses a database backend. Okay, so if I were in this class and I were doing the video, I would say, hi, my name is Tom Stevic. I am in your CIT class, apparently, because I'm on the roster. And for my reverse engineering, I'm going to talk about this website called Cool Stuff Inc. about how it does trading card games. So looking over this website here, I can see that one of the tables would absolutely have to be game, because I've got Magic the Gathering, I got Pokemon, I got Lornica, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece. I've got all these different card games. So obviously there's gonna be a table for game. Each of these games has a manufacturer, so there's probably a table for manufacturer. Then looking at this, I'm familiar with Magic the Gathering. I know Magic the Gathering has several sets of cards. Pokemon does too. They all have different sets. So I'll have a table just for sets, and that will connect back to the table for game, because Magic the Gathering's got a set called whatever. Lornica, the new Disney game, has one called Rise of the Firstborn. So there's obviously a Lornica entry in the gaming table, and then in the sets table, there's a table a column called Rise of Bloodborne, and that ties back somehow to the games table. I also see down here that different kinds of things are being sold. So I've got a collector set, I've got starter decks. So obviously I'm gonna have a table called product, and the product will have rows in there called collector set or starter deck or booster box or things along those lines. So, or Illuminator's Trove. So I'll have those in there, and that will tie back to the game and the release of the game. I also here have individual cards. So I'm going to have a cards table, and that table will log into that card will show a card that's in, and it will connect to the sets table, which will connect to the games table, which connects to the manufacturer's table. I do know that every card has an artist, so it'd have an artist table. Each card has a mechanic, so I'll have a mechanics table. And those will all link together on how it is. So it's all about how, because I can go up here and I can search for a card by name, by popularity, by rating. So all of these I know are values in the card table. The card has a price, the card has a rating. There'll probably be a separate ratings table as well. But that's generally how I see a database designed to be. And thank you very much, and I'll see you later. So that's all you have to do. Hey, Scott, we're just going over on week 2. There's a requirement for a reverse engineer of a website. and it's not as panic inducing as it sounds initially. It's just going through a website and telling me how you think the back end database looks.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really simple thing. It gets you out of using Proctorio in week 6. And anyone who's anybody does not want to use Proctorio in week 6 because you don't want to install that nonsense on your computer. And so yeah, that's all you do. You just go, you pick a website. It doesn't matter. If you are new to databases and have sanity, please don't do family search. Please don't do eBay. Please don't try to do Amazon. Any of the giant websites that just make you lose your mind. So funny story, 3 semesters ago, I go through this normal spiel about don't use family search. And one of the guys in the class actually was a database administrator for family search, which I thought was pretty awesome. He did not, however, get me the schema for the database that I've always wanted to see. I've always wanted to see the church's database for genealogy. I've got to imagine it is
Crazy.
It is amazing. It is a thing of beauty, I think.
Yeah.
I was being a database guy and being in the bishopric and having access to like all the LDS tools and everything. I know the church keeps a lot of data on us.
Yeah, they do.
Oh yeah, we were having, like I was saying, like I really wish we could go in and see everyone's callings from like day one, right? To see like what they've done before, right? To see like, oh, Bob, we need a new Elders Quorum president, but he's been it 17 times before. We probably shouldn't call him again, although he's probably really good at it at this point in time, right? I guess they do because they don't want to color judgment and make decisions through that based on rather than inspiration and stuff. But, stuff like that is there. I mean, because you can go in, they let you get your line of authority from the website. You can grab that, and that happens anytime. That's not a big deal. All this other stuff is there. I mean, it probably knows your temple attendance last time you were there. How often you've gone. You can probably see everyone you've done the work for. The data is there. If I had like 25 minutes in front of a terminal, I would have so much fun writing queries to get information out. But yeah. But anyway, for this week, tooth reverse engineering. Simple 5-minute video. Tell me the website you're doing. It says give me the URL, but if you're doing the video about it, I'll figure it out because you'll tell me what the website is. And try not to do something massive. You don't want to, have a coronary the first time you do this, because I've actually sat down and tried to figure out what the database schema for family search is, and after about 45 minutes, I just gave up because it's just so intricate. Probably hundreds of that. Like I can't even imagine the size of the database. Where I work right now, the largest database I deal with is 650 terabytes, and I got to figure like that's a table in family search with all the information they have there. I mean, it's amazing, and every 10 years increases because of more census stuff comes up. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, so that's pretty much to recap for Scott. So I was saying every week the same things show up. There's always a preparation and read. It tells you what chapters to look at. It gives you PowerPoint slides that give you information for the chapter, so you don't actually have to read the book. Gives you all these links to look over. These links plus the PowerPoint slides are where the answer for the quizzes are going to be. Every week you have exercises. The answers to the exercise in the back of the book until about week 8. And then we start adding some new ones just to confuse you. Please feel free to look in the back of the book at the answers, because reverse engineering queries works just as well for me. Every week there's a quiz. It's an open book quiz. You get 2 chances at it. 90 minutes to take it. It's open book, open notes, open internet, open phone a friend, whatever. Just take the quiz. I think they realized a long time ago that people are going to cheat on this, and so they're like, just figure it out, just go for it, right? Every week there is a paper. Bring up the paper. I took the paper. Go to the paper. So we have paper. Every week there is a paper due. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Every week there is a paper due. No, stop it. Oh, technology. All right. The paper is a 3 to 5 paragraph report based on the case study. in week 1 is trying to explain to me why the CLI is better than the IDE, and it's a hard sell to convince me that it's better. Just so you know. So every week it's one of these, except for week 2 where it's the reverse engineering. As of week 3, we start discussing the final project. There is a final project option in the class. If you're going to choose the final project option, the weekly paper becomes a communication to me about how you're doing on the project. And that sums up everything we've done so far. So that pretty much ends what I got for week 1. Like I said at the start, please make sure to check the announcements. You get them in the email. You get them tons of ways to get to them. I communicate through that. I give you the answers you're looking for. There's problems, stuff like that. It's all there in the announcements. Encourage others to look at it. There are 22 people in this class, and my guess is about 7 will read the announcements. Just you get used to it. 8
Yes.
years.
3 maybe this week, right?
Well, the thing is, a lot of people had contacted me because it was supposed to be on Tuesday and they're not available on Thursday.
Yeah.
I used to do Wednesdays, but the problem is I got to be at church on Wednesdays for young men because I'm in the
Yeah.
bishopric, so you're kind of trapped there. And I come home at 9 o'clock and I want to get online. It's a very busy day. Tuesdays end up being a really good day. So and then I think the TA is going to do Thursdays or one other day. So yeah.
Speaking of Tuesdays, I actually have priests on Tuesday evenings.
Oh really?
I do.
Are you? Well, you're in Utah. You probably got like 17 wards in the building.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I was trying to. It's so funny with this conversation. We were talking in the Sunday school lesson on Sunday. I was teaching it because the guy who teaches the class normally, his daughter was going to young women, so he was at the temple and priesthood preparation. So I taught the class, and we were talking about how interesting it is that our church is geographically based, and how you don't go to whatever building you want. This is the building you go to because that's how we do things here. And like in Utah, that's why there's a church every 15 feet, because like where my kids live in Centerville, you drive down 400, the numbers there are north 400, whatever that street is right down there. You pass like 12 ward buildings, and every third one's a stake center, just because the sheer numbers of people. But yeah, and their building has 3 wards in it. So yeah, one person's got Tuesday, one person got Wednesday, one person got Thursday for their activities. So how many priests do you have?
22.
22 priests?
Wow.
Gosh,
before we moved in the ward, it was before they split it. We used to have the biggest primary in all the church.
Really?
Like 2 primaries.
Wow, that's insane. We have 3 priests, and as of May, we have 1. Such is life of Orlando, Florida, right?
I'd be willing to share.
You know what? Send him out. We're cool. We meet on Wednesdays. Send him out.
Yeah.
I was actually looking down the line, and we have no young men coming into the program next year.
Wow.
We have 13 girls turning 12 and 0 boys turning 12. The year after that, we got 8 boys turning 12. So there's gonna be like this gap year where the second council of the bishop is gonna have nothing to do.
It's funny how that happens.
Once that deacon's there, it's like I get second hour off. How cool for me, right? But yeah, it's in the mission field. It's interesting the numbers we have. But anyway, so 22. They all graduate this. Do all leave this year or?
No, they're a little staggered, just a little bit.
Imagine 22 people going to mission at the same time. Yeah, it's crazy. Huh. Yeah, so that's why we do Tuesday nights. So, but I record them and I put them out. If you ever can't make a Tuesday night, just on the announcement for the video, put a question, and I'll answer it in the video.
Awesome.
So, and I try to be completely available. I gave you guys my phone number, my email address. You can contact me through here. You can text me. If you want to meet on a Zoom call, just let me know and I'll set up a time. Please, if you need to make a Zoom call with me, say, hey, can we meet at this specific time rather than can we meet on Tuesday? Let me know when. I can work my schedule. I manage a team of 11 DBAs. So I can work my schedule around this because all I got to do is go from here to here because this is work. This is BYU. So it's easy for me to do. I just need to have time. And you can even call me if you're interested. Just make sure, remember, I'm on East Coast time, so I'm in the future. Scott, where are you located?
I'm in Oregon, Grants
Okay,
Pass, so you're really far in the future.
I'm really in the future. I'm not Australia future, but I'm pretty. And
Yeah.
Morris, where are you?
I'm in Rexburg.
You're Rexburg?
Yeah.
Keep warm, dude. It's like -60 out there now.
It's freezing.
It's insane. Oh my gosh. We just hired this guy at work. He was from Nigeria and he grew up there. And I was talking to him, like, hey, when you left Nigeria, where'd you go? He said, I went to Idaho. I'm like, that's a drastic change, dude. I mean, how do you go from like Nigeria to Idaho in like on one flight? And he moved there in like October. I'm like, no, that you've got to, good for you.
That's the same
Right.
time I came here.
Huh? Really? You too?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're from Nigeria too?
No, I'm from Liberia.
Okay, same difference though. You're from
Yeah.
you're from a tropic climate, and then like there's no snow in Liberia, I'm guessing.
No.
And then you're in Rexburg where it's like 60 below and there's polar bears. So so I'm in Florida. So right now it is 10:18 for me, and it's like 8:18 for you, and 7:18 for you, and
Mhm.
are you 7:18 or 8:18, Morris?
8:18.
18, so yeah, so 2 hours. So like I'm 2 hours in the future. So everything's fine. Nothing's ended.
Yep. Do you have the sports almanac?
No, nothing's changed, man. Except I can tell you that for a fact the Dolphins will lose on Saturday night. That is not a doubt if you're a football
No.
fan. I've been a Dolphins fan for 30 some odd years, and I can tell you for a fact there's no way they win on Saturday. Because they're playing in Kansas City and it's like 30 degrees.
Oh yeah.
And dolphins are tropical fish. And it was a good run for them. They did well, but yeah, it's time to let the polar bears win the games there. So anywho.
Maybe Taylor Swift will distract them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe. But I don't see them. If they win, there's no way they pass that, because whoever wins that game plays Baltimore. And Miami's already lost to Baltimore. Well, Miami was embarrassed by Baltimore. So anywho, well, it is getting on 10:19. Do you guys have any questions about what I've covered tonight?
No, we're good. I'm good.
Awesome. So like I said, next week I am in Virginia for work, so I will not have this class on the next week. Week after, the itinerary for that class on Tuesday will be, let's talk about the final project and how that's going to work. Plus, that's when I start showing you code. All right. Any
Awesome.
questions during the week? Reach out to me. Reach out to the TA. I'm here to help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Night.
See ya.